Naughty Nautilus. My name is Corinne, and today we're here to talk about quilting. If you're new, I am a cross stitcher and post updates about that, but I also quilt. So today we're talking quilting. It's not much of an update, and I apologize for my last one. I didn't realize I had filmed some of that before, but I did not want to refilm the last video. So this is going to be my fourth quilting video. I'm just going to kind of update you on what I've been working on since the new year. The last video I posted was in the beginning of January, I believe, or late December, something like that. I have not been doing as much quilting, but I have done some, so I felt it was time for an update. Firstly, I do have one fully completed quilt. It is the Spectacular Savannah by Elizabeth Hartman. It was up on my design wall last time. It got quilted and bound, and it is now with my friend. It was for her baby. So last time you saw it, I had the top together, but this is what it ended up looking like when it was all done. I ended up going with some simple quilting. I can't even remember. You'll see some pictures here of what I did. I think I just did diagonal lines. I do a lot of straight line quilting. I'm kind of intimidated by free motion quilting. I want to get into it, but I've been intimidated. And if you've watched any of my videos before, you know that I injured both wrists at separate times last year. And manhandling a quilt under my machine is very difficult for me. It's why I have a lot of tops and not a lot of finished quilts right now. So yeah, so I ended up just using my walking foot and straight line quilting, and to hide the fact that some of my lines, my points and things aren't perfect, I went at a diagonal on my lines. So pro tip, if you don't go up and down or side to side, you don't have to match, or it's not going to bring attention to the fact that maybe your seams don't line up perfectly. Overall, I'm very happy with how it turned out, and Mom is very happy with the quilt as well. And it was a lot of fun to do that one. I may or may not decide to revisit that quilt pattern in the future. I have kind of fun ideas for going crazy with the fabric, but we will have to see. So that's my only finish. I did finish 2 tops as well. I have a lot of friends having babies, and I've been making a lot of baby quilts, and I was kind of feeling burnt out the last time, or by the time I finished that, I just was not feeling inspired. And I was feeling burnt out because I was making quilts for other people, not for myself, which is, it's my hobby. It's something that brings me joy, so I like to make things that I like. Not that I don't like to make things for people, but I just had been doing that and not what I liked. So yeah, all that to say, I needed a bit of a palette cleanser, and I had some charm packs in my stash. They were not my favorite style. They're oh, I didn't have it written down. I used to get the Sew Sampler box, and throughout the course of getting that, 2 different boxes had packs of 2 charm squares from Lori Holt. Her designs are lovely. They're just not my taste, but I had these 4 charm packs, and I kind of I want to use things of my stash, don't go by, and I could have probably passed it along to somebody, but I decided to use them. And I decided to just make a random 4 patch where I just randomized, or disappearing 9 patch, sorry. So I just randomized my 9 patches, cut them, and then randomized again to just really mix it up. So this was sort of I guess it's my palette cleanser quilt, because it's just kind of chaotic, and I didn't have to think about it. I was no placement the only thing I did think about is I tried not to get like the same fabric next to each other or too much of the same color here, but you can see that I can only get so much in here. It's just kind of a nice, fun little mix here, and it's not very large. If I keep going, you see the bottom there. So it's not a very large quilt. It's a good throw size. I will find something in my stash. I'll put the full picture here, but I'm gonna find something in my stash just to make it in the back. And I don't know if I will keep it or donate it or give it to somebody else, but it was a very therapeutic thing. I highly recommend starting something and just with no plan. I mean, the key here was that all of these fabrics were by the same designer, so they go together. So that took, you know, I didn't have to worry too much about my fabric not going together, but you could do it with any scrappy, you know, fabric. So that was sort of my palette cleanser. As soon as I finished that baby quilt, I just started sewing 9 patches and working through it. And that didn't take me very long. I didn't even write it down. I mean, it was just a couple of days. I started this on February 19th and then proceeded to finish it in the next day. I might have left it up for a bit playing with placement. I debated sashing, but I decided to just sew them together, and it was lovely. It gave me the wreath that I needed, and I finished another quilt after that. If you watch any of my other videos, you know I was working on this sampler quilt using curve piecing from SewKindOfWonderful's book. I don't have it on me here, but I've been working on this since 2024, like August of 2024 I started it, and it was just a few blocks here and there as I went, and I got inspired and I finished the whole thing. So you have seen it before. This thing is absolutely massive. So I had shown you some sections before that were done, but you can kind of see it's absolutely gigantic. It's something like 80 by 95 or something like that. But this is primarily where I worked. So I did this block here. This one was done, one of the earliest ones. I'm trying to see if you can even see it. That was a big block that I did there. And then, let's see, as I try to wrangle this up, we worked on the ones across the bottom there, and that's the bottom of the quilt. So this was one of the bottom quadrants. I'll put the whole picture here of everything together, and it was just so nice to get this done, and I'm very excited. Like I said, this quilt is massive, so this one will go to the long arm, because even if I wanted to, I don't think I could handle how large it is getting it through my machine. I have no idea when I need to get some backing fabric for it. I will probably just get a Ruby Star Society 108, pick one of those. All the fabric is just miscellaneous Ruby Star Society. See, it's all a bunch of different lines in there, so any of the Ruby Star Society backings will be good. I'm leaning towards a blue more so than like a pink, but yeah, so I'll be excited. Like I said, I don't know if you've been around, you know I'm only working part-time right now, trying to find new employment, so probably wait until I have better employment and better funds to pay for long arming services. So I have two, that's the second quilt. I have 2 quilts now that I'm waiting for funds to take to the long armor. The rest I am working on myself. So that's it for like completed quilts and top finishes. And that actually left me with just 1 whip, which is surprising. Normally I have like 2 or 3 going at a time, but I was down to 1, and that is the foundation paper piecing Storm at Sea that I'm using scrap fabric for. I'm not drawn to it very much, so I don't work on it all that much, but that opened up to working on a quilt that I had wanted to do. I mentioned wanting to start this one. This is Put a Ring on It by Latifa Safir. So that's what the pattern will look like, and you can see it partially behind me here. This is the background fabric. I'm making this all with Tula Pink. I had a fat quarter bundle of line work. This is one of the Fairy Frost or Fairy Dust or whatever they're called from her new gray work line. But the line work's all black and white, so I wanted something subtle. These are in process, so I'm just going to show you my board here and hope they stay put. So I'm working on these big petals. So these are the line work sections here. This is line work as well. There is that gray work there. So these are all sewn together. I just need to sew these. I just kind of ran out of motivation over the weekend, but you can see all the different, I have them in order for how they need to be sewn. All the different patterns or prints here. And these are kind of random. I tried to randomize a kind of a light and a dark, but also trying to be somewhat random. And I did my best to kind of keep these upright so that when you're seeing like this, these zeros aren't going to be like upside down. They're either going to be kind of on their side or upright. So that's why there's a very specific order. And I kind of try to distribute the colors a certain way. So yeah, you can kind of, you've seen all of the prints there going through. So that's the current project. I'm hoping that this upcoming weekend I can finish sewing the top together. I have to sew these, they're called petals. So those together and then sew them. At that point it becomes quilt assembly. You work this quilt in diagonal rows. So you have the corner. Oh no, so I will make the full rings. And these are, this is using the giant clammies from Latifa Safir. As you can see by the size of the petals, they're quite large. I'm trying to see if I can pull them out. You know, this is the 16-inch one here. You can see it's quite large. This was used for the inner petals here. So that's that size there. And then I have a 24-inch one that's just gigantic. So that helps make up the giant ring there. So it's actually only 4 rings that I have to assemble, and then you work in rows diagonally. So I'll make this ring, I'll put a corner piece on it, which you can't see a little bit of one up here, but you put the corner piece on it, and then you sew kind of this section, so this ring and the background pieces together, and you do the same as that corner over there. And then you just kind of follow this line to sew it together. So it should go together really quick because these blocks are gigantic. Like I said, I kind of just ran out of steam over this last weekend for doing it. And I am a mood crafter. Like if I'm not in the mood to do something, I won't do it. So that is my clam toss. Or sorry, not clam toss. Put a ring on it. It's one I've wanted to make for a long time, so I'm excited to finally do it. I do intend to fully finish this one this month. So sew this together next weekend, maybe the weekend after. Quilt it. I intend to kind of just use my walking foot and kind of follow the outer part of the ring and maybe the inner parts of the rings. Kind of follow the lines there. I think it'll look really cool. So that is the plan. So hopefully next time I see you, that will be done. I have 2 other projects I started. Both were kind of spur of the moment. If you watch my last video, you know I finished an English paper piecing. I really liked it. I was debating. I have the Tula Nova quilt pattern and I want to start it. And I was kind of planning it, but I haven't been able to decide on how I want to lay out fabrics and which fabrics I want to use. So I decided it was better to wait and take the time, considering it's a big project, a big hand sewing project. And I was fresh off cutting all the fabric for this one, and I had some scraps. And I was like, well, wouldn't it be cool to do something with scrap pieces of your quilt and kind of just make a quilt out of like a memory of your previous quilts. So I had previously cut paper pieces. This is my crude drawing. Maybe I'll put in an actual picture, but this is their hexagons with these individual pieces in there. I have a Cricut. I had cut this. This was a free cuttable file that I found on the Cricut app. And I cut enough for 2 of these in this pattern, and I have started sewing it together. So I have this much done. I have all my pieces here, and then I'm using the gray work in there. So that'll go in there, and I kind of just create a ring around it. So that's one of them I started. I have another one. There's going to be a sound here because I didn't think I was going to show you this. So yeah, these are my pieces. I just cut them out of cardstock on my Cricut. You can see the different sizes there. And this one, I have like little offcuts like this. And some larger ones here. So I should be able to get all my pieces out of there. So this one's going to be this print. I have some of the zebras, baby. I don't have a lot of room to fussy cut, so we're kind of just working with what we got there. And then I have some of the black print, and it's going to get another gray hexagon in the middle. So this is all offcuts of this quilt. When I do a lot of this curved piecing, and I end up with a lot of really weird sizes that are hard to cut into like squares and stuff. So English paper piecing like this kind of works, and I'm happy with how it's turning out. So sort of a tentative, something for me to work on, make some of these. We'll see how many I decide to make. And then at some point start playing around with assembling a larger EPP quilt out of it. That's intended to sort of be a long-term thing. When I get a chance to look at some of these, I want to look at what Ruby Star Society fabric I have. It's what I have mostly in my collection, and see what I can do for the Tula Nova. And once I decide on that, I will probably start that. But for now, this is sort of a scrap one to keep me occupied for times when I don't want to cross stitch, but still want to do something with my hands. The other one is I decided to join the Fat Quarter Shop Socialites. I am using, so it's a free stitch along put on by the Fat Quarter Shop, and it started on February 20th. You get 1 block a week. They're skipping a couple of weeks, but eventually you're going to get a quilt. It should look like this. I'll put a picture in. The first 3 blocks are out. I have completed those blocks. I just want to show you. They're recommended. I'm making the small one that, so my blocks are 3.5 inches. Don't ask me why. Well, I didn't want a giant quilt, and I wanted to work from stash. So this one seemed like a good option. I'll probably make it a wall hang it up somewhere. They call for 1 layer cake with at least 28 prints. Mine is not going to be as scrappy. I had this is my Fat Quarter bundle I had purchased when Joann was closing. These are all batiks, but they're all kind of, these ones are kind of like a lighter purple. You got pinks, so it's all pinks and purples here. And then this one's kind of more of a blue. So we're going to work with these. 12 fat quarters. It's not quite equivalent to 28 layer cake squares, but I think I should be able to get enough. If I don't, I have some backups. I have this charm square pack. I want to stick to the purples and pinks, so I will probably pull from in here if I need it for whatever reason. I'm using scrap white batiks from another quilt project. They're all like these little offcuts of it. I even have some additional, I have like a quarter of I have about 2/3 of a yard left of this too, so that I can get into if I need it. But I'm working with the little pieces that I've got, because What else am I going to do with them? And then I actually have an entire bolt of a bluish green. That is going to be my accent that they have. It's in the, there's like a 2 squares and then a long bar. It's in there. So that's going to be my accent there. But these are the squares that I have completed. This was number 1. And if you look carefully, you'll see that my points aren't perfect and I don't care. So this is number 1. This is block number 2. Again, not perfect. These are a little more rectangular. That has to do with me being very scant on my 1/4 inch seams for these. I don't care. And then this is block 3. And again, a little bit wonky, but that'll be in the seam allowance. And again, I don't care. So all 3 together, very tiny, very cute. I have been kind of enjoying making these, and I'll be excited to see how it comes out. You can see it's a lot less variety compared to what they had, but in their suggested ones with their fabric choices, they have one where the person used like a blue monochromatic collection, and I kind of like that idea, so hence we're sticking with these. So this is going to be an ongoing, working through these all the way into whenever it finishes. So this is an ongoing project that I decided last minute, but like I said, they're small enough, they're easy to, you know, get this done. I ended up not making 2 last weekend. I didn't feel like sewing, and I was able to get both of these, you know, 2 and 3 done in a sitting pretty quickly. So that is my other new start. So nothing too crazy. Right now, I don't have any other plans other than finishing that, continuing to work on the other 2. At that point, I will decide what I want to do for my next project. If I'm feeling up to it, I might try to finish another quilt top. I have, what is it? 1, 2, 6 quilt tops that need finishing. So yeah, I need to start getting working on them. So I might try to like do one every 2 months just to try to get them all done this year. We'll see how my wrist holds up on that. I do have one other project, but I have to grab it, so I'll be back in just a moment. Okay, so this next project's kind of special. This is actually a quilt top made by my stepmother's grandmother. Here. So this is all hand sewn. These are actually like velvet diamonds. And you can see she did some embroidery stitching over all of the seams. So it's absolutely stunning. But it is just a top. Like you can see, it's got a lot of little hanging threads. And it's all hand stitched in there from there. So it needs to be finished. I've been tasked with finishing this quilt. I'll put a picture of the whole thing here because it's quite beautiful. It's about 94 by 74 inches. And I am going to do my best to make it look like what it was intended to look like. There was a fully completed quilt like this that one of my sisters has, and my stepmom wants it completed the same way. That means a satin backing. So yeah, the original had a satin backing in an emerald green, so I did manage to get that over the weekend. It's going to be interesting, you know, because satin is not really something you quilt with. The quilt is tied. So what I will be doing is taking this mountain of satin. First, I have to piece it to be an appropriate size. And then I need to make my quilt sandwich, baste it, and then I'm going to start hand tying it. The binding is going to be just the satin flipped over, and then there's going to be a stitching detail on the binding as well. So I have to practice my my stitching. I do have a photo of what the other one looks like. I'll put it here. It's not the best quality photo, but it's the one I have for emulating it. So this is going to be a project I'm going to be starting. I will be working on hand tying it. Since it's going to be hand tied, I don't think it's going to take me that long to complete. The longest part will probably be the binding. So what's probably going to happen is I'll finish sewing this top together, and then I will sandwich this and start working on this to try to get that done. So that's why I don't know that I will start something right away. With that being said, probably another 2-month gap unless I end up getting a whole lot done. But yeah, that's pretty much it for what I've done and what my plans are. I don't really have definitive plans at this point. So yeah, so if that's what you were here for, just quilting, that's all I've got. I appreciate you coming by. I know my quilting updates aren't as prolific as my cross-stitching updates. I also know this type of video is not as popular, but I really do appreciate you coming by and checking it out. Like I said, probably another 2 months. These are probably going to be 2-month updates, just so there's actually enough to show you, other than like, oh, I sewed like just a little bit, if you know what I mean. But thank you so much. I'm going to talk a little bit about life, and then I will be done for now. So thank you once again if that was all you were here for. For life, we are busy teaching. We're about in the middle of the semester. There's always a middle of the semester slump, but we're just slogging through. We have a little over 2 months. The semester ends, classes end at the end of April, finals week at the beginning of May, and then there's a bit of a break until the summer. It's undecided what I am doing. I am also taking online classes. Those finish at the end of this month. Actually, I have 2 weeks left, this week and next week. And I'm actually transitioning into serious job hunting now, trying to look for additional employment. Teaching is only part-time. It does not pay bills. I need something that pays bills. So that's kind of where we're at. It's nothing terribly exciting going on. Job hunting isn't fun, but it is necessary. So yeah, that's what's going on. I do know too that when I actually get full-time work, I'm gonna have a lot less time for crafting, and that's just the nature of things. So other than that, I don't really do much. Kind of hang around the house. Maybe we go to things, but my boyfriend and I are pretty much homebodies. We just hang out and do our respective hobbies. So yeah, not a terribly exciting life update, but I don't lead in a terribly exciting life. So anyways, I'd love to hear what you think about projects. What do you think about, you know, a velvet as a quilt top and satin as a backing? People are surprised, and I'm a little bit nervous about trying to get this all to work together, but I have patience. I also have no timeline for this, so I can take a break if I get frustrated with it. But yeah, I'd be curious to know what other people think of that project. I think it's really cool. I'm incredibly honored to be able to work on it, and I hope that I can do it justice. So I want to thank you once again for stopping by and checking out what I've been working on. I hope it's a more exciting update next time, and I will see you at my next update. Thanks. Bye.